News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by CBD7. A 35-year-old Smithfield man previously convicted of breaking into the Logan Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has pleaded guilty to harassing his estranged wife in another case. Peter Ambrose accepted a plea deal and will be sentenced next month. Ambrose participated in a virtual hearing in First District Court this morning. He pleaded guilty to one count of violating a protective order, a third-degree felony. Cache County Deputy Attorney Griffin Hazard explained to the court Ambrose had previously been ordered to have no contact with the victim. In March, he disregarded the court order and texted the woman, attempting to ask her out on a date. Ambrose admitted to the charge, blaming the crime on an act of loneliness. He apologized and said the case had been blown way out of proportion. Judge Brandon Maynard ordered Ambrose to remain in jail. He also scheduled sentencing for June 28th. On December 24th, 2019, Ambrose was arrested after police found him locked inside a room on the main floor of the Logan Temple. He had used a ladder to climb over the building's exterior fence, breaking the glass doors with an axe and gaining entry into the building. Once inside, Ambrose damaged paintings, tore down curtains, and used the axe to shatter a mirror. A fire extinguisher was also sprayed over furniture and the floors. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight. Chance of showers and a few thunderstorms this evening, and then partly cloudy after midnight. Some thunderstorms may produce strong gusty winds and small hail this evening. Overnight low in the lower 40s. Mostly sunny, upper 70s on Tuesday. And then sunny to partly cloudy, upper 70s for the high on Wednesday. We've been to 72. It's 67 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy, featuring the best prices in the valley and, as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for a prescription, check with Cache Valley Pharmacy first for the absolute best price, especially on compounds and insulin. Order your prescriptions online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Utah Governor Spencer Cox has called on state lawmakers to convene for a special session this week. They will consider bills involving allocating federal coronavirus relief funds and a prohibition on mask requirements in schools during Wednesday's session. Cox said two of the more contentious proposed measures will not be considered. Those bills are a ban on teaching critical race theory in K-12 schools and a proposal to declare Utah a Second Amendment sanctuary. Authorities say the bodies of two men reported missing after going jet skiing on Utah Lake have been found. Searchers found the body of one man Sunday morning and found the second man soon after. The men are brothers, believed to be in their 30s. A spokesperson for the Utah County Sheriff's Office says they were both wearing life vests for the outing on the state's largest freshwater lake. He says authorities don't know whether they suffered some kind of injury or simply fell into the lake. The wife of one of the men called to report them missing early Sunday. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit cachevalleydaily.com.
Where you find out. News Talk KBNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Summer temps are here, the grass is seeding out, and the lawns have gotten stressed. With that being said, we'd like to introduce our new 2-service soil enrichment program to help increase the size and number of roots in your grass, which allows the plant to better use both the water and nutrients that are there, improving the health of the plant and helping the stress of this time of year.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley, and as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. Some stores that can't find enough workers are taking desperate measures like training clerks and managers to become data scientists. Find out where it's happening. Also, what's the course of action when divorced parents disagree on whether to get their child vaccinated? And why community college remains unaffordable for so many Americans. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Monday, May 17th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio after a week off. Welcome back, Bill.
Thank you. Good to be back.
I see you brought some weather with you. It's been a couple of days.
I didn't go anywhere to retrieve it. Of note, just Salt Lake and Ogden in place, but places like that.
But you brought it.
Yeah, I guess I brought it back. I don't know.
We
it's kind of cool.
It's funny because we have a couple of stories we'll talk about on the show today in between guests that are drought related. And it's a little odd, Bill, to be talking about a drought considering the weather of this afternoon and yesterday. Well, actually, I mean, not a lot of precipitation today, but, man, it looks like the potential's there.
I mean, this is the normal spring kind of weather.
Yeah, this is what
we have right now,
but usually coming in on the weekends, right, to ruin your plans.
Yeah, sunny and nice week when you're in the office.
Friday afternoon.
Yeah, and then
this
rain and 40s.
I'm enjoying it because we have warm temperatures, and it's to me this is great weather when it's warm. But it is welcome. Every little bit helps. The precipitation over the last 24 hours in no way changes our long-term drought situation.
Yeah, 1/1600 of an inch is what we got from the.
We had hail yesterday.
Yeah,
pretty significant sizes too. I hear from friends over the mountain though, along the Wasatch Front, it was a bit worse down there yesterday afternoon. But
it always is.
I know I have a few squash leaves that look like someone took a couple of target practice shots at them. But yeah, it was interesting weather yesterday. It came down fast, really hard, and then just kind of blew over. A few sprinkles here and there throughout the night. Possibly the same today. Park City, though, I don't know if you saw this, Bill. Park City this afternoon was actually under a extreme weather advisory for about an hour. And it was a surprise. It was, from what I understand from the National Weather Service Twitter account, it was something that was moving in one direction, then suddenly it changed directions with the wind.
That's creepy.
And it was potentially going to be sort of a flood situation. They were worried about stormwater pooling at street corners and things like that, so they put out a warning telling drivers if you're out on the road between 1 and 2 o'clock this afternoon in Summit County, they were warning people to be very wary and to keep an eye out.
The ground is dry and it's hard.
Sure.
Other than, people's gardens and lawns.
Yeah. When it's this dry, Utah becomes a bit like Texas. In Texas, water doesn't have anywhere to go. Texas is basically most of the state sitting on a big rock with a few feet of dirt on top of it at most. And that's why none of the homes in most areas of Texas have basements.
Well, same for Oklahoma, which is, the number one tornado state, other than Arkansas. Hard rock or clay. And so a lot of people don't have basements where they really need it especially May and June.
So the water has nowhere to go. So every time there's a significant accumulation of rain in Texas, some streets become impassable just because the storm drains can't keep up with it. There was a bit of that happened in Cache Valley yesterday. I heard reports of a couple of intersections in Logan where storm drains had been plugged by debris and things were pooling up a bit at a couple of intersections. But
it can happen quickly.
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind, basically. If it's easy to it's just rain, and rain, not something you normally think of as dangerous. It isn't. But yeah, when it comes down as fast as it was coming down for at least 10, 15 minutes there yesterday, it can pull up on the roads pretty quick, and that can also be something that's not always visible. That's what the National Weather Service was warning folks in Summit County about today, saying this could accumulate very quickly for a short period of time, but long enough to create some hazardous road conditions. And unfortunately, when there's enough light still, and even more so when it's dark, the giant puddle of water that will actually cause your tires to leave the road, be no longer in contact with the tarmac, can look a lot like the road as you're driving along.
We're hydroplaning, honey.
So, yeah, just something to keep in mind about. This warning, though, pales in comparison on an interesting scale to the warning issued by the Department of Wildlife Resources today here in Utah. We'll talk about this later on in the show, but I want to tease this one now, and I've linked to it on our Facebook page if you'd like to go read it. Two things about this before we actually dig into it later on in the show. This is the lengthiest statement I think I've ever seen from the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources ever. It went on for good reason. And two, it's all about bears, but there's a reason for that as well. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. You're going to have to stay tuned, though, to discuss it, because what I'm hoping is that before the end of the show, we're going to get some clarification from the from the division on what exactly it is they're trying to say when it comes to bears and Utah and how this connects to the summer ahead of us. So, all right. Legislative special session coming up. Waiting for word on this as well, but as you heard during the news break there, Bill discussed this. The story is this morning, Salt Lake Tribune with an exclusive that this legislative special session kicking off Wednesday is not going to be just about the CARES Act money or CARES Act 2 money. This is federal aid, $1.5 billion for the state to divvy up however they see fit, and $1.1 million that's already earmarked to go directly to cities and counties, but the state lawmakers will have to divide that up, and then cities and counties get to decide what to do with it. This is all part of that second federal aid package passed in the first few weeks of the Biden administration. It comes on the heels of a similar-sized package passed in the Trump administration. And state lawmakers, like they had to do around the same time last year, are going to have to decide where all this money goes. Now, that's expected to take up all of their time. This morning, though, the Salt Lake Tribune reported that a handful of lawmakers were pushing leadership in, as I understand it, primarily the state House, but also some push for this in the state Senate, to take up a bill that would designate Utah as a Second Amendment sanctuary state. This is a bill that does nothing, really. It's like a resolution. It's like saying, we state this, that Utah is a Second Amendment sanctuary state. Several lawmakers want that to be on the agenda Wednesday. The other bill is one that would ban critical race theory. This has become a hot-button issue for reasons that will never make sense because it is actually about a 50-year-old thing that has been taught and discussed and debated mostly at law schools for the last several decades. It's a college-level thing, but there's this fear that it's being taught in grade school, which is kind of funny because if you've ever actually read about this, it could not be taught in grade school. This is a college-level theory, basically, that is there for discussion, and again, primarily in law schools. But again, it's caught on as a bandwagon, lots of people jumping on it, including some local lawmakers. There's a big push to get a ban of teaching critical race theory in K through 12 schools here in Utah, even though, as the governor pointed out today, it is not being taught in Utah schools. The governor, in his statement, said no. He said, there is a job we're here to do in this special session that I've called, and if lawmakers would like to take up these other bills dealing with some things that have become national hot-button issues, they can call themselves into special session at a later date. This session, the governor said, is going to be dedicated to the task of deciding where this money goes. The money has been spent by Congress. If Utah doesn't use their, quote, fair share, it goes to another state, and the state lawmakers, state legislative leaders, Speaker Wilson and Senate President Adams, alongside Governor Cox, have said Utah, though our federal delegates all voted against this aid package entirely, the money has been spent. The bill did pass without Republican support, and so Utah, Speaker Wilson said, will spend its fair share of this money. Otherwise, it would just go to another state and be spent anyway by the federal government. So Governor Cox said that's what they'll be discussing on Wednesday, and that's it. You can read the governor's statement, which itself has become a bit of a controversy now. Some people claiming he doesn't care about these other issues. And the governor saying in his statement, in the proclamation declaring the legislative session, this is what we're here to do this week, and anything else, well, lawmakers are more than welcome to busy themselves with that at a later date in a session they can now call themselves if they want to. It's been interesting to watch this one play out, but there's also discussion of coming up in the special session tomorrow of some of the committees that will always meet before the House and Senate gavel into actual legislative action. Those committees are happening right now. So if you would like to see any of this discussion, some of the big decisions on where all this money is going to go, what it's going to be spent on, are actually being discussed at committee level, and that started today. So I'd recommend le.utah.gov, especially if you are a business owner. If you're a business owner, pay attention to this special session. There is a lot of money. There's been a lot of talk of doing something to help small businesses who have been hit, especially those hit hard by the pandemic, but even those just taking a minor blow. And the discussion on what that help might look like, if any, comes towards small businesses, is happening at committee meetings throughout the week. So le.utah.gov, you can hear the conversation and get an idea of where lawmakers are pointed with all of this. That gives you time to email, call, reach out to your lawmakers in person if you know how to do that. And yes, you can actually influence where at least your representatives will be pointing themselves when things gavel in later this week. le.utah.gov is the website. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Metal Mart is everyone's metal store. So come on in and see what you can do at Metal Mart. If you are welding, building, fixing, or repairing, Metal Mart is your metal source. With one of the biggest selections of metal products, including aluminum and stainless steel, you'll be amazed at the selection of items available to you. Now, when it comes to buying metal, Metal Mart understands that not everyone knows what they need when it comes to metal products. We understand that not everyone works with metal every day, so let us help. Come on into Metal Mart at our Lehigh or Logan stores and let our awesome sales force take care of you. Projects big or small, we can serve them all. For 27 years, Metal Mart has provided excellent service to all customers. So, no matter your knowledge or skill level, when you need metal, come to everyone's metal store. Metal Mart, serving all of Utah and the surrounding states. Metal Mart is ready to serve. Call today in Lehigh at 801-768-3332 or Logan at 435-363-9001. Visit online at metalmart.biz. Open to all. Metal Mart is ready to help you. See you soon.
Attention homeowners, you may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift concrete raising and piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift concrete raising and piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you prepare for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. Coming up in hour 2, we're going to be talking about an event happening this Friday that you're probably going to want to find a way to be a part of. It's for a good cause. It is a fun event. The way they've designed this is pretty cool. It is called Cycle Nation. You can check it out now at cyclenation.org. But Stacey Owens of the American Heart and Stroke Association, Utah, will be joining us later on in the show to talk about this event and why they decided to put it together. But it is... It's a cool idea. We'll talk about it at the start of hour 2. Stay tuned. This was kind of cool. This went around Utah today. Have you ever considered being a citizen journalist, specifically when it comes to using the Freedom of Information Act and public access laws in your state? The email reads to keep an eye on your state. And they posted, now the organization is called Muckrock. Get it? Muckrack, kind of a play on Muckrack.
That is clever.
But it's Muckrock. And they announced in this statement they're hosting a free webinar that is going to basically show people from their specific state how to use the public records request process in your state to elevate accountability in state agencies, in counties, in cities. This is a really cool thing. It's not, it's hard for me sometimes because one of the conversations that seems to be pretty frequent when we meet as a state board for the State Transparency Advisory Board, there's this push and pull between, making things easy for residents to check their government through, making public data available online and off and easy to get. But at the same time, there are those who use that process as a general fishing expedition, which can be very costly for state agencies, counties, cities, and someone's time, an employee paid by taxpayers of a city, a county, or a state agency has to collect the information requested, and that can take time. In fact, we saw one as a board 2 years ago. Someone presented an example of a real estate developer in the Plain City area, or a real estate developer with eyes on some land in the Plain City area that had submitted a public records request about land transactions, transitions, sales, and more that had been approved by the county during various different iterations of the county's zoning. And this real estate developer wanted all of that. The cost to the city and the county to provide this information, which was public information. This developer had a right to ask for it and even a right to get it, but it would have been a $13,000 bill for the city and the county to split in order to collect the information for this person. So the argument that we made as a board at that time is this is why this information should be fast-tracked at least to a website. Because then a person doesn't necessarily need to put a public records request in, take up $13,000 worth of a city's time, or a city employee's time, $13,000 worth of wages, because it would have taken them months to compile the information the requester asked for. But it's public information, so it should be available. So get it on a website at least where a person who wants it can go in and easily find it themselves. Now, to be honest, some people submit these fishing expedition public records requests just to be difficult. I don't think that's what was happening in this case, but I don't really know. But I've seen them before where a person, in fact, there's one person that is basically a serial harasser of state lawmakers and submits to the Utah Senate on a regular basis impossible records requests. At one point, this individual asked for the file with the photocopies of every Post-it note ever used in a legislative session from 2010 to 2018. That was an actual request. Now, of course, that request was denied because those photocopies of Post-it notes don't exist. But
somebody had to bother to look for it, I guess, at least.
Yeah. So my point, I guess, there's always that afterthought whenever I talk about something like this. But overall, I think this is cool. This Muck Rock, again, is a nonprofit organization, and their goal here with this is to train just the average person to be familiar enough with their state records requesting process. Here in Utah, it's called GRAMA. That's the law, Government Records Access and Management Act. It's 20 plus, nearing 30 years old at this point. It's a great law. It's actually one of the best in the nation when it comes to transparency and accountability. It could be better. Any law could, but it's pretty decent. The state has also done a lot through the opendata.utah.gov data warehouse, and the visualization tools that they have there. Also finance.utah.gov, transparent.utah.gov. Utah's done a really good job of getting most of everything online. Still some issues, in my opinion, only with the procurement process. I don't think cities, counties, and the state are as transparent as they should be when it comes to how decisions have been made on contracts and things like that. The state is a little still too dependent on independent software or third-party software developers, and it's always cheaper for a state to kind of build their own thing. Also less dangerous if a company goes bankrupt, which has happened to Utah many times over. If the company goes under, if they belly up, all the data that you ran through their software is now useless to you because they don't exist anymore and aren't updating the software anymore. So you've got to spend the time to incorporate that into something new. Be far cheaper if the state just owned their own thing to store and house and process and display data. They're working on it. So it's not perfect here in Utah, but it's pretty decent. But still, if you are so inclined, this was an announcement that came our way earlier today from the organization Muck Rock, asking people in Cache Valley, Utah in general, to sign up for this free webinar. And the webinar's goal is to teach Utahns. Now, again, they're doing this in all 50 states this week. The webinar is here in Utah specifically to teach you how to use the public records request process the way journalists do. Oftentimes, journalists, if a public records request is denied, they've got an attorney that their employer is paying for that will back them in appeals and even going to the State Records Committee if they need to go that far, which is basically the Supreme Court of Public Records decisions. And then you can even go beyond the Public Records Committee to the Supreme Court if you actually want to, the state Supreme Court. Some have. But it's a pretty open process. And, of course, the average citizen isn't going to have a high-dollar attorney behind them should their request be denied. There are some, ways you can fight without having a lot of money as well. And Muck Rock says they will train Utahns on that as well. So they're doing this in all 50 states throughout the next 7 days. And here in Utah, it is a free webinar on how to use Utah's Freedom of Information Law, GRAMA, the Government Records and Access and Management Act is the full title, or the GRAMA law And this public records portal the state created where you can digitally submit a public records request, something that until about a year ago had to be done through an actual form, physical form, and then emailed in or attached somehow. Now it can be done through this online portal where you just create an account, get the parameters of your search, what it is you want to see, and then submit it. They'll even help you find the right agency to submit it to. And Muckrock says that this is part of a 50-state campaign they're running to train citizens on how to increase accountability in their city, county, and even state-level governments by training citizens how to use the records laws in their state to request public information and just take a look under the hood, as Muckrock puts it. A decent idea. It's a free webinar. I've linked to it on our Facebook page if you're interested. And stay tuned. The state is actually working on something like this of their own, which won't be a free webinar. It's probably more likely going to be a couple of videos at a website. But it is something that even the state of Utah is encouraging citizens to do. The state, of course, is asking you to do it to the counties and cities. Muckrock is saying, keep an eye on everyone. Check it out. I've linked to it. You can also visit muckrock.org to see more about their work in general. But the free webinar on how to use Utah's public information laws to hold your electeds and your cities and counties and state agencies accountable. Free webinar on that this week, I believe, on Thursday. But it is something you can watch anytime if you sign up, Muckrock says. And that is at muckrock.org or follow the link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/KVNUFTP. More of For the People and why the Division of Wildlife Resources here in Utah is warning Utahns in areas normally not accustomed to hearing this type of thing about increased activity from bears. Why this is happening and why the statement and warning went out today. Stay tuned. First, though, a look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time, 4:36. The news brought to you by the Duck Hunter. Utah seems to be doing its part as far as getting vaccinated. Today, the state reported over 2.4 million total vaccines have been administered in the state, plus nearly 1.4 million have received at least one dose, and 1.1 million are fully vaccinated, which amounts to almost 35% of all Utahns. As of today, nearly 39.6% of all adults in northern Utah had been immunized. A total of 127,377 doses have been administered in the Bear River Health District. New positive cases of coronavirus grew by 164 today, according to the Utah Department of Health report, and there were also 11 new cases in northern Utah. UDOH also reported one death today caused by COVID-19. A Utah County man who was over 85 and a long-term care facility resident. Utah's coronavirus fatalities over the course of the pandemic now total 2,259. The Navajo Nation has reported 7 new confirmed COVID-19 cases and 1 additional death. Tribal health officials say the latest figures released Sunday pushed the total number of cases since the pandemic began more than a year ago to 30,715 on the vast reservation that covers parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. A Salt Lake police canine officer already facing a criminal charge accusing him of releasing his dog on a man kneeling in his yard with his hands up has been charged in a second biting incident. The Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office has filed amended charges against Nicholas John Pierce. They charged him with a second count of aggravated assault. Police pulled over an SUV that was reported stolen in 2019. The female driver complied with orders to hold her hands out the window. Prosecutors say Pierce lifted up his dog toward the woman's arms and told the dog to hit. And the dog bit the woman's arm. KVNU News Time is 4:38.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your duct work. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
KVNU weather for tonight. Chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, then partly cloudy after midnight. Some thunderstorms may produce strong gusty winds and small hail this evening. Overnight low in the lower 40s. Sunny upper 70s on Tuesday. Sunny to partly cloudy upper 70s on Wednesday. It's been 72. Right now it's 67 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. They work hard to keep stocked up on what customers want. Sectionals, bedroom sets, and hundreds of chairs at 28 West 1st North downtown Logan. Always a better buy at U&I. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Monique Benson of Edward Jones, bringing you the daily financial market report for May 17th on behalf of Daryl Arnell. U.S. equities closed lower today. The Dow closed down 54 points at 34,328. The Nasdaq closed down 51 points at 13,379. And the S&P 500 closed down 11 points at 4,163. And the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields were trading at 1.64%. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was down $3.62 to $320.01. Lowe's Company was down $4.78 to $194.13. Nucor was down $3.81 to $106.32. PepsiCo was down 42 cents to $146.17. R.R. Donnelley and Sons was up 34 cents to $4.77. Thermo Fisher was down $6.15 to $452.92. Northrop Grumman was up $1.26 to $372.87. In the commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up 97 cents at $66.34, and the spot price of gold was up $28.80 to $1,866.90. This has been the Financial Market Report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice with offices in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield.
Adams Wealth Advisors puts clients first under any circumstance. No matter what the financial world may be doing, you will receive peace of mind with Adams Wealth Advisors.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Schedule a time with an advisor today. Call us at 752-1702 or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
What a year! And 2021 just started. If you're like most people, good sleep has been a challenge. If you have sleep apnea and can't use CPAP, great sleep is even harder to come by. Fortunately, there's a treatment option that will give you the sleep you dream of. It's called Inspire. It works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Good news or bad news, depending on where you were at on this whole thing, but there will be no $1 million lottery in Utah for vaccination.
Oh, man.
It is official.
I was really banking on that.
Yeah, that's
on winning it.
That's now, of course, lotteries, raffles in general are constitutionally prohibited here in Utah, but there are ways around them.
Well, this would just be you have proof on your card that you had it, and you just enter, right? Or
yeah, but it would still be considered like a raffle. There's some gray area. There are ways around it. The state itself has before hosted raffles with prizes and things like that, even though technically they shouldn't. But based on what's written into the Constitution, at least. So that's not going to happen. But it was official. There were some rumblings of actually making an exception in this case, considering we're dealing with a pandemic, and the goal here is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. So there was talk, at least, Speaker Brad Wilson said today, of bending the rules a little bit, like maybe saying, obviously, they're not going to do I think it was Ohio.
It's one of those states back east, or Midwest or something.
Yeah, it was Ohio, and they were doing 5 $1 million prizes to some random vaccinated person. So, of course, when you get vaccinated, you have that little card, but also the health department keeps a record. And they would just, draw, I guess, from every name.
So they were going to draw, name. 5 individuals then?
5 different individuals would win $1 million. And I'm not sure when that's all going to happen, but that's a real thing. Ohio is actually doing that. And there were jokes here in Utah about, there's concern right now as the vaccination rate drops off here in Utah, which was expected. The governor said last week during the press briefing for the task force. And also good news last week on the front of vaccinations in general, with the news that the FDA and the CDC had both approved the use of the Pfizer vaccine, at least for children aged 12 and up. That's going to be a huge deal for Utah because a larger percentage of our population is in that 12 to 16 group than most other states. We have a very young population here. So Governor Cox feels that alone is going to be enough to get Utah past that threshold, the stated threshold of 70% vaccination rate, in order to call the pandemic officially over. That's where this idea came from, this idea of incentivizing people to do it. The thinking behind this is that there are some people that are just going to be against. Don't waste your time on them. You're not going to convince them, and your time is better spent elsewhere. The people the state would like to focus on, the governor explained, are those who maybe are just a little hesitant. They have questions. And the recommendation in that situation, of course, is you talk to your doctor. Best place to start. So the incentive would be to get people out doing that, talking to their doctor and scheduling, if they are finally made comfortable, an appointment for that first dose. And then there would be some sort of a random prize or whatever. So they actually put out a statement on this. There was so much excitement about this that it was getting a lot of media coverage, but also Governor Cox cracked a joke about it during the press conference last week, and he'd hinted at the state exploring maybe awarding, finding a way to award like a jazz season pass or some ski resort season pass. Something like that, something very Utah. But again, they didn't know how to do this without accidentally violating the Constitution and making it a lottery. And so the big question was, will they be discussing that in this special session that kicks off Wednesday? And the answer is no. Representative Brian King was the one to first break this news that the answer was no. And that came during so the special session hasn't started yet, but the committees are meeting. And they're actually discussing this. There is a meeting that was happening about 2 hours ago, the Executive Appropriations Committee, and they were talking about everything from the money that they have to allocate from this CARES Act 2 federal aid package and the $1.5 billion coming to Utah from that, plus $1.1 billion that is earmarked just for cities and counties here in Utah. And lawmakers, they started out talking about they can hold on to this, not indefinitely. But, it would be, I guess they could hold on to it indefinitely, but it would be just pointless to do so. But there's no, deadline on when they can spend it. They get half of it this year, half of it next year at the same time. But they want to decide now in this special session starting Wednesday, they want to have it all written down. and just set in stone. And so in the middle of that discussion, this came up again, this idea of using some of this money to encourage people who are on the fence or maybe just haven't made time for it yet to go get vaccinated. And that discussion then sort of took off, again, because this is a popular idea, the idea of offering some kind of a prize. You know, if in Ohio, again, people stand to win. I mean, your odds are just about as bad as the lottery in general. And as to quote the governor of Utah, this is something he said before he was governor, but I always liked it, that lotteries are for people who are bad at math. The point in that joke being that lotteries
put out a lot of money.
Yeah, you can put out a lot of money,
nothing.
And your odds are very, very low, like insanely low. But if you're just doing it for fun, then more power to you. But if you're doing it because you really think the more tickets you buy, eventually you're going to win, the math just does not support you on that. And the governor cracked that joke last week. But they said they'd like to do something. Because Ohio's seeing a response to this. Ohio, again, offering 5 different $1 million prizes to some random person who has been vaccinated. And it applies to people who've already been vaccinated before this decision was made by the Ohio legislature to do this, to appropriate funds for this prize, but also those who get vaccinated going forward, which is the point. And Ohio saw a very noticeable and immediate uptick. Governor Cox last week said this is something he's interested in, not the lottery part, again, unconstitutional here in Utah, but some kind of prize-based incentive. But the problem is they don't know how to do it. So during the discussion today at Executive Appropriations, Representative Brian King said that their discussions were continuing, and when asked by someone there testifying what they could do to convince lawmakers to go in this direction, Representative Brian King said that he had talked to the majority leadership, Republican leadership, and been told definitively this morning that there was no appetite for this type of thing in the legislature right now, he added. In other words, GOP leadership isn't going for it. Some of the different things cited during the testimony today that have been working in other states. Some local bars in downtown areas in Boise were doing shots for shots, is what they called it. You came in, you got a free alcoholic beverage of your choice, just one, and got a vaccine. There have been groups here in Utah actually who have done,
Are you supposed to? I guess you can drink if you get the vaccine. Or
I'm not sure. I just realized that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm guessing. Probably not want to drink a lot, but
maybe just one shot.
But yeah, that's if it's just one beverage, maybe you're okay. Again, lotteries and these types of raffles in general are unconstitutional, but contests are not. Fun events, the governor said last week, are not. If you're a business and you're wanting to do something good for your community, host, which the state will help you do, by the way, and you can sign up at coronavirus.utah.gov. Host a vaccine clinic and then make it an event for your business. The governor cited some of the businesses in downtown Salt Lake that have been doing this, and one business actually drew a crowd of close to 7,000 people over a weekend by hosting a vaccine clinic in which they weren't even giving anything away. They just kind of made it fun. They set up a little garden. They had a fake maze for the kids, daycare options, and then, of course, had a huge sale alongside that. And they counted 7,000 people from Thursday to Sunday at their business by hosting that clinic. So the governor says he encourages anyone wanting to do this to do that, but he's not ruling out the state using some of this CARES Act 2 money they're going to be divvying up on Wednesday to go to some kind of incentive program to get people vaccinated, those who are sitting on the fence or just haven't found time for it yet. The legislature, though, again, was confirmed by Representative Brian King, a Democrat, that he'd spoken with House GOP leadership today ahead of the Executive Appropriations Committee, and GOP leadership had said no, not something they're willing in discussing at this point. So we'll see, though, if some money gets used for this. But my question for listeners is this a worthwhile use of money? I mean, I get the sentiment behind it. You want to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. That's just, the smart thing to do in this situation. But is this the best way to use that money? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. But some alternate ways this money could be used rather than a big prize or a lottery or some big event to try and attract a lot of attention. What if it would be more effective to use some of the CARES Act 2 money the state's going to be divvying up on Wednesday on radio ads about vaccination? And I'm not saying that because I work here, but as an example, what if it would be more effective to buy tens of thousands of yard signs like local candidates do and put them on every street corner? What's going to be the most effective use of the money? Is a big prize like Ohio's $5 million, 5 individuals who might win $1 million from the state. Is that really the best way to do it? It seems to be really driving vaccinations up in Ohio. Utah can't do that because of the Constitution. But, if we're going to do it, what is the best use of the money?
And I guess in Utah, you can't join the Ohio
No.
giveaway.
You have
to be a resident,
Ohio, you have to be an Ohio resident to even play in that lottery. But it seems to be working. They saw an immediate, after the news broke, which I don't remember what day that was last week, they saw an immediate uptick in vaccinations that has grown exponentially since. And it started literally that afternoon. So these things obviously work, but what should Utah do, if anything? 753-5868. Again, no appetite for discussing spending CARES Act 2 money on this in tomorrow or in Wednesday's special session debates. But the governor's saying this is something that he's going to keep pushing the state to explore. He thinks that it would help get those who are on the fence or just who haven't found time to get a vaccine yet to actually make the appointment and get it done. 753-5868. This is KVN News for the People.
Hi, this is Dr. Monty Carlson from Hyde Park Dental. I have some very exciting news. Dr. Brad Bills and I are going to partner to help make Hyde Park Dental one of the premier dental practices in Cache Valley. Dr. Bills will bring his experience in many areas to Hyde Park Dental. He loves treating children and provides comfortable, pain-free dentistry to everybody. I'm thrilled to have Dr. Bills at Hyde Park Dental. I know you will come to love and appreciate him as I do.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Bills. I am as excited as Dr. Carlson to be joining forces. Like Dr. Carlson, I have practiced dentistry for over 30 years in the Valley and love helping my patients be healthy and have fantastic smiles. I also love being able to offer laser dentistry. Treatment with a laser is fast, pain-free, and often eliminates the need for a shot and no numb mouth. The excellent care you have received through Dr. Carlson and myself will continue with even more fantastic services and care. Call us today at Hyde Park Dental to schedule an appointment. Dr. Carlson and I are excited to see you.
Okay, now, listen up. If you like a little variety in your life and you like to work outside, I have the job for you. Logan Extermination is looking for hardworking, motivated technicians to help them keep up with their booming business. This is a great paying job with full or part-time employment available, and your day is never the same. Pay is $13 to $15 per hour with paid training and certification. Call today, 752-8450. That's 435-752-8450. Logan Extermination is excited to add you to their family.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology is Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Paul Daines by calling 753-HEAR or visit cachehearing.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Western Extermination is your simple solution for lawn care and pest control. Your yard is meant to be enjoyed without bugs like ants and wasps, mosquitoes and spiders, plus rodents that chew up your lawn and garden. Western Extermination offers fertilization to keep your lawn green and healthy and to keep weeds away. If you have a problem with voles, you can count on Western Extermination to exterminate the problem. Ask about military and advance paid discounts. Western Extermination serves residential and commercial properties. Curb-to-curb services. Western Extermination has you covered. 512-0014. That's 512-0014 for Western Extermination.
Did you know Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day? Memorial Day is an American holiday observed the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Take a moment or two this Memorial Day to reflect and honor the generations who came before us. This message from Allen Mortuaries.
This is Jason Allen with Allen Mortuaries. serving Cache Valley for over 80 years. Then, now, always.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Wrapping up hour one of today's show. Coming up in hour two, the Cycle Nation event coming up this Friday. Stacey Owens of the Utah American Heart Association, American Heart Association / American Stroke Association, Utah organizations have organized something called Cycle Nation, a digital event this Friday to fundraise, raise awareness, get people talking about, thinking about, and even training themselves on how to reduce one of the most preventable yet most common things to take a life in the United States each year. That's coming up this Friday. Stacey will be joining us to talk about the Cycle Nation event, and the Division of Wildlife Resources today putting out a lengthy bear warning for the entire state of Utah. Talk about why they decided to do this and why bear sightings might be a much larger part of this summer. That's coming up in hour two here on KV.